Hey, what's going on, everybody? What's good? We are here, and this is the August 30th, 2021 episode of the Boxing Source Radio Show. I am your host, James Bell, the leader of the Boxing Source on social media. You can catch us through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and also through YouTube. And you can also subscribe to the podcast through iTunes or Google Podcasts or iHeartRadio. We got like a few things that we're going to cover here in this particular episode. This is titled Paul versus Woodley reaction, and we have that plus other news that have been floating around the boxing world. As we're going to kind of like talk about uh, the aftermath of this thing here between Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley. You know what I'm saying? Um, and kind of like see that the live, when it was going on live, there was a good amount of feedback going on, for this particular matchup, man. Yeah, I know it was something that folks called a exhibition of sorts, but it wasn't quite an exhibition if it was, cleared by the state athletic commissions. This was a, fight that was approved by the Ohio State Athletic Commission. So it goes in as a professional fight. This is, not much different than, when you had Floyd Mayweather taking on Conor McGregor, and that was, approved by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. So, um, this here was something that I guess a few people were kind of like expecting. I know that the boxing world, you had like people that have covered boxing for a while, say like, "Oh man, this is not good. This is, pretty much a disgrace for boxing, and this and that and the third." But we're going to, kind of like go over that and reactions to it, um, because looking at this thing here, man. I mean, watching that thing, you know, you seen that there was a good amount of crowd interaction with something that Jake Paul and his team did along with Showtime. Showtime, kind of like gave the green light for it, and they set up the card to kind of like turn out this way. So, thing about it is, man, when you have like a sellout crowd over in Cleveland, man, I mean they filled up that arena there at the Rocket Mortgage Field House, or whatever they call these arenas this week. um that was something good there for um the turnout and the support for, I guess, this main event, so to speak. And also that coming from people that I've talked with that were in attendance, like there was a good amount of people that showed up fairly early for this particular fight card, which you kind of don't see that much when it comes to these, either these pay-per-views or or uh high profile boxing cards. Is that once they have these 5 or 6 or 7 fight cards, that they don't necessarily have people showing up until probably the fight before the co-feature bout. And that after that co-feature bout starts up, that's when people start to fill themselves in, get to their seats and everything like that, before the main event starts. But here, over at this Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse in Cleveland, Ohio, man, they have folks in there, and you kind of like seeing the fight card fill out. You had the uh, the Charles Conwell, versus Juan Carlos Rubio fight. You had Ivan Baranchik versus Montana Love fight, which we'll definitely touch on here. Tommy Fury versus Anthony Taylor. Oh my gosh, and that one. Daniel Dubois versus Joe Casamano. And the co-feature about the hair that they had was Amanda Serrano versus Yamaleth Mercado. Um, and there were like people that really supported each almost like every one of these particular bouts leading up to the main event. But we're gonna kind of go a little bit backwards here with this main event. Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley. Of course, he had Jake Paul, the social media content creator, millions and millions of followers on social media, taking up boxing as been able to have professional fights since 2020. So he they were able to go ahead and have this other fight here be approved. So against Tyron Woodley, of course, Tyron Woodley, MMA superstar, Hall of Famer, a very decorated guy in UFC, but had been in the back end of his career in mixed martial arts. Had lost good amount of fights in mixed martial arts in a row, about 4 fights in a row. And this was his first pretty much his first professional boxing fight. And so, it was something where, I think that people kind of highly favored, uh, Jake in this one, even with Tyra Woodley, having that decorated mixed martial arts career. But he went into this particular bout, and it was just something that I just to go off with. I mean, I think that people kind of like were watching it for the entertainment. You seen the people, or the celebrities that were there, that were in attendance, including Dave Chappelle. Um, that kind of like were looking at what was going to happen. And the thing about it is that I think that people, as fans, go to these fights to see if somebody's going to get knocked out. And that was kind of like the thing going into this particular match, was that let's see if we're gonna see if either Jake Paul or Tyron Woodley gets knocked out. Particularly with the whole thing with Jake Paul, talk about he's knocking out these guys. He knocked out Nate Robinson, of course, that viral knockout that he had over Nate Robinson. The thing over Ben Askren, that was a 1 round knockout. But going up against Tyron Woodley, someone that kind of like came in there, of course, fully in shape, even though was up at the quote unquote cruiserweight weight limit. Um, he was there in shape and everything like that. But this is somebody there that was coming in at what, 39 years old or something like that. Yeah, 39 years old. So it was like 39 years old going up against someone that's like 23 or 24 years old, excuse me. And they're just trying to see if, somebody was going to get knocked out. But, we didn't necessarily get that, although we almost got a knockdown in this particular bout. It will go into as Jake Paul kind of like was going through the motions, throwing like ones and two punch combinations in those first couple of rounds. Um, not necessarily anything where we kind of like showcases some actual boxing skill. At least to me, it didn't. I mean, yeah, he's put in work. He's been in the gym, of course. Preparing for these particular bouts, but nothing to the point where you kind of like say, okay, this guy has enough skill to kind of like get himself through in these professional ranks, even though yes, this is still sanctioned as a professional fight. So that's why you have him matched up against these guys that don't have any experience in the probably the amateur or professional boxing game. So like every guy that he's fought pretty much had his pro debut or had their first boxing match, period. So same case here with Tyron Woodley. Didn't necessarily have the boxing experience, but had been able to knock out guys in MMA. So he did have some type of striking ability. But you kind of like seeing that Jake Paul, with his height and reach advantage, he was throwing a few jabs here and there, keeping Tyron Woodley at bay and whatnot. Um, over those first 3 or 4 rounds. But Tyron Woodley didn't seem to have himself in trouble, in those few rounds. Wasn't really caught with a good shot in those few rounds. So it looked like he was continuing to try to come forward towards Jake Paul and see what was going to happen with him. Um, See if he was going to kind of like tire a little bit, which kind of like did happen to a certain extent. And then when Jake Paul was hired, that's when Tyron Woodley would try to go ahead and punch, and that's the thing that he was there doing. He was trying to get to Jake Paul and get himself in there. And then when he was throwing punches, he was trying to catch him with some good shots, and he was able to do that. Within the fourth round, you kind of like seeing that he did set up Jake Paul with a lazy jab, and then came over with the right that backed up Jake Paul, and of course sent him to the ropes, and had him falling back to the ropes, and the ropes did keep him up, and people did were saying like that should have been counted as a knockdown, but it wasn't. And you kind of like seeing that with that happening, that Tyron Woodley kind of changed the momentum of the fight. I think that people felt like Jake Paul had done enough to win those first few rounds, but that fourth round was a turnaround uh, thing there for Tyron Woodley. He was definitely getting some good shots in that particular matchup. Um, and did kind of phase Jake Paul there in that fourth round, and that kind of like followed a little bit in the fifth round. He was still able to catch him with some good shots. I did see a couple of feints from Tyron Woodley that Jake Paul didn't necessarily expect, that Jake Paul got caught with. But after that, you kind of like seen in the sixth round that you didn't see much activity there from Tyron Woodley. Um, Jake Paul did, a little bit, which was, enough for him to get himself through that round. And same thing happened in the seventh round. And then it went through, to the eighth round. And the eighth round, it was, just both of those guys trying to get themselves through that particular round and get through the entire fight. So you did just have like a full 8 round bout they're from two guys that didn't necessarily go through 8 rounds, especially with Tyron Woodley there, 39 years old, his first bout professionally in a boxing ring, and he goes through 8 rounds, 8 rounds, 3 minute rounds, and went through the scorecards. And you had one score of 77-75 for Paul, one score of 75 or 77-75 for Woodley, and one score of 78-74 for Jake Paul to get the win. You of course about the stuff that was coming from Tyron Woodley after the fight. Like he pretty much like did his Adrian Broner impression. Y'all know I beat that boy. And he kind of like said that, yeah, okay, yeah, no, we had a bet, in this fight, kind of like saying, hey, I'll get the tattoo, but if I get the tattoo, I want to have a rematch. You know what I'm saying? So, um, who knows? I think that it was something where he kind of like you know got himself riled up after the fight, but shout to those listening in. For those listening in, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And if you just go ahead and subscribe to the um, podcast, whatever way you want to do it. Um, but yeah, like I was saying, man, Tyron Woodley Kind of like had that whole little thing there talking about, yeah, like I know I beat that boy, I had him hurt, had him backing up, and all types of stuff. But I mean, for those that were kind of like watching it live, it kind of like seeing that it was something where Tyron Woodley really didn't have enough activity, to kind of like get the overall advantage in the rounds there. Kind of like seeing it like as 5 rounds to three or whatever it was, or something like that. It would have been interesting though if he would have had the knockdown scored. If he did have that knockdown scored in the scorecards or the rounds that were scored were pretty much consistent, then you would have had like a majority draw, or like a split draw, because you would have had one score of like what it would be like a 77, 74, something like that, or you could have probably had something to the point where we he Jake Paul would have lost a point, and that could have like swung around like 2 point round, for Tyron Woodley. So he could have probably gotten a draw on one of those cards, you know. But that wasn't the case. Like I said, Jake Paul continues his quote unquote undefeated streak or whatnot. Um, they were saying like after the fight, like who was gonna go after next. He was talking about, of course, the whole thing about a potential rematch with Tyron Woodley, or something there with uh, Tommy Fury, who is one of those. Uh, a he's a professional boxer, but some people know him from some reality show that happened a while back too. And Tommy Fury, who was part of this fight card, going up against Anthony Taylor, uh, and he was in a 4 round fight that he won by unanimous decision. So, maybe we'll see what happens afterwards when they have all the they have the checkups after the fight, and if if Jake Paul gets medically cleared, then he could probably get himself back in there for another fight. I mean, he's already had 2 fights here this year, so I don't necessarily see him probably fighting again this year. But going into the next year, he probably might have something going up or going down that could be against Tommy Fury. I know that he had like his so-called hit list on social media that did include like a Tommy Fury, a Canelo Alvarez, a Conor McGregor, and other folks like that. But it just remains to be seen. What happens here with Jake Paul. But like I was saying, the way that the crowd was, you know, um, reacting towards the fight, looked like the crowd in there was enjoying the action. They were really, backing Jake Paul there. And of course, it was like a hometown crowd for Jake Paul, and so they, kind of were supporting Jake there during the fight with against Tyron Woodley. So, um, maybe you'll have more fights over there in Cleveland if you get like a sellout crowd, and you know you get a sellout crowd. Um, and a lot of support, then hey, you probably have something there. You know what I'm saying? So just I think it's Terrell checking in. He says like um what the Fury fight makes the most sense, as yeah, Woodley didn't bring a convincing argument with the performance that he had. Yeah, he didn't necessarily do that. But you know, when he was landing those shots on Jake Paul, you could see that Jake Paul was affected by those shots. You could see that, but you could also see that Tyron Woodley um, didn't necessarily work on quote unquote a complete game there, to kind of like try to really do some damage to Jake Paul. You know what I'm saying? He didn't move his head one bit. He blocked a few shots, but he didn't necessarily try to set up some good counters unless if he was like really close to Jake Paul, like close quarters, like trying to land to the body and a couple of things like that. But you did see some, a couple of good power shots that he was able to land in the fourth round. Outside of right hand, he was able to land an uppercut following that right hand that did back up Jake Paul. But you kind of like seen that you kind of like seen that he was kind of trying to put up or pump up the crowd after he did hurt after he did hurt Jake Paul. I guess I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that here quite yet. But either way, man, I think that you kind of like seeing a few people kind of get their entertainment out of this particular fight. So that was the thing about it. I think that folks were entertained by this particular matchup, and I'm kind of like seeing that we probably did get a good little bit of a feedback, and that's kind of like what the thing was about it. Want to get in the guests here to kind of like check in to talk about the main event and more. Checking in out of Atlanta. It's Brother Mike. What's going on?
What's going on, James? Doing pretty good, man. Just leaving the gym.
Oh man. What is it? Jake Paul got you motivated, so you're gonna see if you can get him in.
Nah, man, I'm trying to get promoted, so I just had a real busy weekend, and I just needed to do something to release my testosterone. So I came out to hoop, man, and had some guys out here I'm talking shit to, and I got a sorry team, so I got to do everything on the team. And they ended up beating me because, I got tired at the end. But, it's just, I'm like, damn, I got to be the one to shoot. Like, wasn't nobody else making shots. It was quite disheartening. But you win some, you lose some. I'm going to get them next time. But I got my participation trophy. So I'm good.
Man, like LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Russell Westbrook out the court, man.
I mean, I think I scored, we had 10 points. I think I scored 8 of them. Not because I wanted to, because it just worked out that way.
Oh, man. They could buy a bucket, man. Your teammates don't buy a bucket, I guess.
I'm just like, shoot the ball. Somebody make a shot, But, yeah, what you said about that event, I didn't catch your synopsis.
I mean, it looked like the crowd really enjoyed the festivities with the main event, but also the fights that were on the card. Speaking of the main event, they were really supporting Jake Paul there. And Jake did have a little bit of issues there in the fourth and fifth round, particularly the fourth round, but nothing to kind of like have him in some real danger, as really didn't really follow up with what he was able to do in the fourth round. So just had Jake Paul.
Yeah. I guess I'll share my comments that I shared over the chat. His matchmakers are doing a great job, and I have to put it into perspective. For a young fighter would be fighting right now somebody who 20-20, got a lot of experience, but just isn't that good. So when we see him fight guys that are historically MMA guys and they are not true boxers, we can't necessarily be mad at this because he's a young boxer and this is literally his infancy, and at this point, unless you like Lomachenko, you fighting guys who aren't that good, which I'm going to go into the MMA guys. How can you be a professional MMA fighter? I get it. MMA, like everything, has styles, and a lot of people are jujitsu and wrestling and all this other stuff. But you not know how to strike. Woodley did not know how to strike. He didn't know how to box either. Which is why I say kudos to Jake Paul's team for putting him in front of these type of guys. Big names. They done did whatever they could do at the top of their sport because they flip people on their head or choke people out. But he much bigger than Conor McGregor, right? Conor McGregor like 154, somewhere around in there, right?
Yeah, but Woodley had been what was that, former welterweight champ in UFC.
Okay, so Jake Paul was that much bigger than Woodley as well.
Yeah, naturally he is, but Woodley did out to like 189 at the weigh-in.
Okay, so smaller guy versus bigger guy. So at least the matchmakers are doing themselves a favor in terms of the Jake boys. And like, I can't even get mad at it. Like, the thing I can say I'm a bit disappointed, you're a professional MMA fighter and your striking skills are subpar at best. Like, poor. This guy wouldn't have lasted against probably the journeyman boxing guy. I'm just a bit disappointed. Like, the only thing he had going for him in that fight was his stamina. And he couldn't even use that because he didn't throw his hands. That's the only thing. And Jake Paul, literally the only thing he had to do was stay on his back foot and throw 1 and 2 shots. And that helped him win majority of the rounds. Woodley might be good in MMA, but piss poor boxer, piss poor striker, which is sad. I'll just say that. I mean, let me not say it's sad. I'm rating him in terms of a boxer, but again, he's a different skill set with a bunch of other skill sets, which means that he ain't that good in boxing. Good matchmaking for Jake Paul. The guy won a boxing match. He won most rounds. The judge who said that Woodley won the round was blind. Even like no activity. He landed a couple shots, but the shots he landed, he didn't follow up on. And then when you started seeing the momentum where his stamina was starting to play a part, what did he do with that? Nothing. He squandered that opportunity. Kudos to Jake Paul. I'm disappointed in Woodley. Just as a fighter, I'm disappointed. But Jake Paul better than people give him credit for. He ain't that good, but he better than people give him credit for. He still has to work on a few things in terms of, he's an infant boxer, so I'm giving him a grain of salt. But he still has to work on a few things. It's a few times. The best card was the Baranchik and what's the other dude name?
Montana Love.
That's the best fight. The thing that Jake Paul needs to learn is the thing that Montana Love did. Walk your guy into shots. You move. He follow. Then you walk him into a shot, which is what Montana Love did. Montana Love is flawed as well, but he's skilled enough to walk people into shots. He's skilled enough to use his speed to throw whatever. And I'm questioning if Jake Paul was not faster than Tyron Woodley. At least in the first round, it looked that way. Good matchmaking for them.
Yeah, it did look like it was something there where he kind of like
everything else was like blah.
Yeah. But you seen there in the for Woodley that he cut off the ring for nothing. and he
and
didn't
he
even
didn't even
throw.
throw. No, he didn't. I don't think he knew how to throw. That's what I think the problem is. And then when he did throw, it looked a few steps above Nate Robinson. Did you see his stance? Like, I'm thinking to myself, if Jake Paul throw either a straight right or uppercut right in between his outspread hands, it's gonna be a sad day for him. But Jake Paul throw his shots wide. That's another thing to work on.
Hold on, what you saying now?
He shot. He has to be able to throw both of those because get people like how Rigondeaux does. He'll throw those, looping shots, but then he'll get you used to those looping shots, and then he'll throw one right down the middle, and that's how he break your jaw.
Yep. But yeah, you
Man, this fight,
that Paul didn't really have much technique either.
He didn't, but the thing is, did it matter? Did it matter with him fighting a professional fighter?
Nah, not really. I want to see add in another guest on here. Someone that was around the area. I think that was fairly entertained by this
fighter.
Checking in was good.
Oh, I'm just listening to y'all. What's up, man? You all right? I agree with him about that straight.
I'm saying you can't criticize Jake Paul the same way you criticize Tyron Woodley, who is a multi-year professional fighter, a champion. Correct. I'm just disappointed in Tyron.
Yeah, I feel you. Like Terrell was saying, through the live chat, like, he said, like, Willie spent some time under Mayweather's guidance, like Mayweather was talking with. So, like, how do you not work on this type of stuff? Knowing that you have this fight coming up.
He was
what you were saying?
I'm not knocking Mayweather. I'm just saying, like, yeah, I'm gonna let somebody else talk. I would rather talk about the other fight, the real fight on the card. Whenever we talk about that one, I'll come back in.
Who's that? Montana Love?
Yeah, like this. I'm feeling like with the Jake Paul fight again. I'm not upset at Jake Paul. I understand. As an infant fighter, you got to do what you got to do. I'm actually proud of him, but why am I wasting my time on this professional fighter who didn't know how to strike?
Yeah, I feel you on that, man. Because it was just, not a good look when you have someone that's an actual, well experienced professional fighter that actually did kind of like have some knockouts in his MMA career, but still wasn't able to do something in order to kind of like say, hey, you could really hurt this kid if you wanted to, and you didn't really do it. But we'll get back into that, I guess, a later time. Wanted to get into, like I said, to me, the fight of the night. Montana Love gets Ivan Baranchyk at 140. When Montana Love was able to, get himself a 7th round stoppage over Ivan Baranchyk. Ivan Baranchyk, former, champ there at 140. But Montana Love was able to, kind of like showcase his skills a little bit, but also show some toughness as well. Being able to drop Ivan Baranchyk a few times before the end of that 7th round, and then Baranchyk went to his corner, and his corner stopped it because he was getting beat up a little bit too much there in that particular round. So Montana Love has a record now of 16 wins, 0 losses, and 1 draw. He kind of like did call out a few top contenders there at the 140-pound division. that we may talk about, but overall he kind of like did take care of business there against Ivan Baranchyk. But wanted to get thoughts on that particular fight from y'all.
Hey man, I was so happy he didn't call out Adrian Broner. Try to get a quick Adrian Broner check. I was so happy. But yeah, man, that fight was lit. You see when he hit him and the first time he hurt Baranchik and he stepped back and showboated.
Yeah,
Oh man, I enjoyed that fight. I enjoyed that fight a lot. And I did a lot for Montana's profile because I hadn't seen him fight. I didn't even know he had fought like 2 or 3 other times this year already. I hadn't even seen him. I didn't even know he had fought.
yeah,
But yeah,
man.
he's stepping up. He represented.
Yeah, that was the thing too, man. They had him on the card. Cromwell on the card. A couple of local guys to
Hey,
get
what
the
what what was the deal with Conwell? Because you remember when the fight was first announced,
uh-huh,
Conwell was one of the first fighters they announced was on that card,
uh-huh.
and he was also scheduled to be on the pay-per-view portion. What happened with that? Why did he fight off TV?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe there was some type of,
I
I
know they had
guess,
moved this
scheduling issue or
opponent. I
whatever
know they
it
had
was.
moved this opponent.
Yeah, they switched it out, right? They had to switch his opponent, right?
Yeah, but I didn't think that would knock him off the pay-per-view portion, off the TV card. Now that
Yeah,
was disappointing to that because that boy can fight.
yeah.
You remember? Because I went at Lou DiBella on Twitter about not getting Conwell no fights.
Yeah, man. I don't know what's up with Lou Bella in this thing here with Cromwell, but he was able to get in this card, but wasn't part of that pay per view portion, which was strange. Um, but I guess they had that in the Monta and Love fight in. Well, they could have had that fight on there on the pay per view at least, over the Tommy Fury fight, man.
Yeah,
Come on,
Fury's only a 4 rounder.
yeah,
Conwell stopped this guy in the second round. That Serrano card, man. Look, I try to support the women boxing. I don't watch it myself.
right,
I don't like to down it, but that sport they're gonna have to do something about the 2 minute rounds. They got to make the rounds 3 minutes. You can't. It's a bad product. They hurting themselves.
yeah. Yeah, that was something about that particular fight, man. I mean, that thing went through full 10 rounds, but it was 2 minute rounds, um, and it was like the co-feature bout, and I was like, I know that Amanda Serrano is one of the most decorated fighters there in women's boxing, but going up against someone that was like coming up in their weight class, and people would expect her to like outclass Mercado and get a stoppage victory, but she wasn't able to do that, and those type of fights kind of like drag things out, and kind of like giving who you have in the crowd that might not have attended many boxing matches. Like I was saying at the beginning, sometimes you expect knockouts in these fights, and when you don't get these knockouts, then people lose interest. So I kind of like think that the overall momentum of that card kind of like went down a little bit with that particular fight because like I said, you had the Baranchik versus Love card, you had Dubois versus Kusumano, which was another mismatch.
Yeah, which was nothing. A first round knockout, but the crowd was into it. You know what I'm saying? It
Yeah,
is what it is. What it is. And the
yeah.
crowd was
So
really into it. That everybody that I know that went said that was one of the best crowds they'd have been to in a long time. So
yeah,
it showed. I know Ohio is a boxing state. We love boxing here.
yeah,
I don't understand why there's not more fights here. We ain't had a fight here since Broner fought what's his name, Granados.
Ronaldo's, yeah,
That was the last big fight. We had these club cards, but that was the last really big fight we had in Cincinnati.
yeah. Like I mean, you got places like Cincinnati, Cleveland, Toledo, very deep in
Columbus too.
Ohio, very deep in boxing history. And when you tell me that you can't, necessarily have, higher profile fight cards or in one of those places in Ohio, like somebody like from a Showtime for a Showtime card or a Fox card or
Yeah.
something like that. Like if they could
Especially
invest in having
when
like cards in,
Minneapolis is getting regular cars
yeah,
now.
that's what I was saying. Yeah, I was about to say that. I'm like, yo, how is it that Minneapolis getting these cards, and you mean to tell me that Ohio can't? Like, how is that possible? You know, but yeah, I think they should be able to have some more there. I think it, and maybe this particular card kind of like gave these execs some probably like a spark in their heads, like, hey, maybe this is a market that we should invest in. Like if you're gonna have Atlanta have those couple of fights there with Tank Davis, then hey,
Yeah.
you could have a few cards there for other fighters. I mean, I know that
Yeah,
one
like
of our
you
guys said that.
you putting Shakur and
Yeah. Yep.
Harry in Atlanta when you could put Shakur and Harry in Cincinnati with Duke Reagan on the other card.
Yep. Yep. That's
I mean,
exactly
you got
it.
Duke Reagan from Cincinnati, and you got Jared Anderson from Toledo. Your
Yep.
two big prospects under your promotion. And I'm telling you here, Duke is a legend. His daddy is a legend. He is
Yeah.
sell out. Duke was sell out by himself.
Man. Man.
But I don't know, man. They
Yeah.
don't.
Man, you could have that. You could, have Albert Bell, on there too. You know what I'm saying? A few other guys there that's around that, Ohio area that could be part of it. So that's the thing about it. Like you
I
could
mean, like
build.
the boys last night, Montana Love and Charles Conwell. I mean, it's so much talent and so much potential. If somebody would be willing to just put a card on here, I don't understand why they won't, but I don't get paid for thinking, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but I think that they should go ahead and try to do that thing for Herring versus Stevenson in Cincinnati. If they kind of like have who they think will be part of that card, just go ahead and put it in Cincinnati, man.
I'm gonna tell you a good example of that was Caleb Plant. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me. In Nashville.
Yep.
I remember when before that card, it was a lot of like hesitation or whatever, speculation. I was talking to Jake. He was telling me what was going on behind the scene. And matter of fact, the venue they booked was bigger than what Jake thought he could sell. And I was gonna go down there. I told Jake, I was like, I'll be down there, but I'm probably wait till the week of to get my tickets. They're gonna be cheaper. Man, I wait till the week of, it was sold out. See, so a lot of these cities, man, like Cincinnati, we only got 2 sports town here, baseball and football. So on a Saturday night, it ain't much to do here. So if it ain't no baseball game or ain't no football game, it's wide open.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, unless in the fall, man, they got the Cincinnati Bearcats. Like this year they supposed to be.
Most of these people here, they more Ohio State fans. They are.
Yeah,
Bearcat
that's the thing about it. Yeah, they still like OHIO over there. So outside of that, then yeah, you could have a few cars over in Cincinnati that people attend. But like I said, there with Caleb playing over in Nashville, yeah, that was big, man. Like Mike was. Over there, man. He made it over there for that fight against Vincent Feigenbutz, man, and he said that scene was popping.
Duh, it was, which surprised the hell out of me because I couldn't get a ticket.
Yeah, it was nice. I enjoyed it.
Oh, you went there, Mike?
Yeah, it made me a Caleb Plant fan. Like that's when I started like truly making sure I watch his fights because he showed me a lot.
Yeah, I remember I was gonna go down there, but I was gonna wait till that week. And I couldn't even get a ticket. It surprised me that they sold out that venue like that. It was crazy. I couldn't get the ticket I wanted. I wanted the floor seat.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah, I got the like level issue 1. Floor seats, I'm against floor seats because
it ain't the best angle. You know what? They are overblown.
It
ain't the best angle. Nope. It ain't.
Like that angle where you like literally parallel just a little bit above the ring on the level 1.
The risers. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yep, the risers. Those are really the best seats in the house. Floor seats are overrated though.
But I can't afford Deontay Wilder's seats there no more. If I go to his fight now, I gotta go in the nosebleed. So That's what happens when people get big time.
Yeah, yeah. But everybody that was at that fight last night, that was Cleveland. Cleveland, but they known for good sports fans, even with the
Yeah,
Browns.
yeah, they've been consistent with that. They had their little run there with the Cavaliers and stuff like that too. So, but they'll be loyal for sports, man. They love their sports, over there in Cleveland. So, having something like that with a good little venue, having some boxing action and some pretty good matchmaking to a certain degree. They were able to have an enjoyable card there. So I'm
Yeah.
looking to see more over there in Cincinnati, man, and see
I
other
know the
people.
casinos pay good money to host the fights there. But like somebody else was saying yesterday, boxing got to get out of them casinos and spread the fights around.
Yeah,
I can understand like big mega fights, like Pacquiao, Spence, Wilder, Fury. I can understand those big mega fights, but like regular ass fights, they throwing it like Taylor versus Ramirez in the casino. That was stupid.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I guess Aaron got a real beneficial deal there for that particular casino holding those fights there. We did because he had that. I think he had the Inoue fight, and then there was like one other fight where he just had to deal with that particular casino, and he just said, "Yo, I'm gonna just put these fights here and just throw my hands over it." But yeah,
Yeah.
that Ramirez Heller fight that shouldn't have been at that place, man. I was like, it ain't made no sense to me. You
Or
know?
even like a smaller, even like a Pitt. I used to live in Pittsburgh a while ago. They are diehard Steeler fans, and then again, they're diehard sports fans, and ain't much to do there on a Saturday night either.
Yeah,
So you bring if it ain't no Steelers game or no Pirates game, you bring a fight there, people gonna come out. Like my man Paul Kroll, put him there.
yep, yeah, definitely, man. Like Paul Kroll, me, he's out there. He's training in Philly right now and all that, but you put him up there in Pittsburgh, that'll definitely get a good amount of support through that. So I don't see why they can't like have something like that happen. In places like Pittsburgh, like I said, with Cleveland before this happened, Toledo,
And you got to
hey,
bring it back
wait,
to the working class,
yeah,
cities.
yeah, those are the ones who would like enjoy these fights, man. Is the working class folks. So like get these fight cards over there in the cities where they're where they're really at. So I don't see why they don't kind of like do that a little bit more instead of having it in places that people would have to travel a good distance in order to see those fights. But yeah, overall, I think that this card here that they had over in Cleveland, yeah, they did a pretty good job in that, and I think it's gonna have like what is it like good gate numbers, and we'll see how it does for a
I
pay per
hope
view.
so, man. 'Cause that benefit us all, man. That benefit the whole area. Hopefully it did.
Yeah, man. So that's gonna be something there. I mean, I think that you know uh, probably something that Steven Espinosa is looking into how those numbers worked out and say, hey, maybe we can get something going. Like I said, I mean, you can have either on the Showtime side, you can have like an Adrian Broner fight there, with a few people like Adrian Broner, Robert Easter, probably could get Charles Conwell on there again, depending on the situation, and you know get like I said, you get a very good turnout for it. Who is it? Also, Rashay Warren, right?
Yeah, yep. Nuke from
Yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah. So you got Rashay Warren too. I mean, he had his quick knockout in this last fight there, second round knockout. So you have another fight there in that what is that bantamweight division, and whatnot. Get him back into title contention. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, I think they could make that happen. Yo, and
Yeah,
and
but it
and, and get
takes
things going.
it takes vision though, man. Take you some vision and somebody take a chance, which is hard to find in boxing.
Yep, true. true. But kind of like going on this other thing here with Jake Paul, and I think that people kind of like reacting to what he's doing, and it's kind of more into a business versus sport type of thing because yeah, he's only had like a few fights, a few professional fights, and he's going up against guys that don't have any amateur or professional experience, so to speak. But from the business, aspect of it, he's promoting himself, 24/7. He already had a following before he started this thing, so he just kind of like went from having that social media following and put it into, what they say,
Yeah, his
sport.
fans want to see him fight, so he go fight. It ain't like he taking away from boxing fans, or you know what I'm saying. I don't understand. Plus, he putting a lot of people on,
Yeah.
which I don't understand. A lot of people that usually look. Regis ain't fought since he fought on Jake's last undercard, right?
Yep. Yep.
And look at all the people he put on last night. He if people claim they love boxing, well, he giving boxers a chance, an opportunity to shine.
And that's the thing about it. And I kind of like said it with years ago when they had the thing for Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor is that people knew that they were going to watch that fight, so boxers would probably try to get themselves on to get more exposure, and fans will just go ahead and see what those other boxers are going to be doing there in that particular card. And then the same thing here. I mean, doesn't necessarily mean that you know they would have to completely be in the fighters, but at least they get a first chance to watch these guys. So like the guys like a Montana Love and the Daniel Dubois and those type of things, they could say like, okay, Daniel Dubois is having another fight. Oh, that's the guy that I saw over in Cleveland that did that. All right, so yeah, we could probably see him in action again. So I will see like why other quote unquote critics are against this type of thing when it gets people to actually watch something that maybe they wouldn't have watched if it wasn't Jake Paul on the card. So they should take everything how it is. I mean, because you're not gonna get if you don't get the same numbers for like these bigger fights or whatever it is. That's not Jake Paul's fault. He already had the following. So if he's gonna have guys, like or what is it, like 15 million followers on social media or something like that, then he'll have a percentage, man. Even with like 10%, that's still like 1.5 million people that could possibly be watching him, fight. So that's the thing about it, man. It's like I mean, that's the business part. If you want to get that type of following and the money that you feel like you want to get, then you got to get people to be interested in you. And the thing is like these
Exactly.
boxers ain't really getting folks interested in them.
True. True. And then they disappear. This is my thing. You got to stay active. You got to stay visible. They not fighting. They go like Robert Easter. I love Robert Easter Jr. But what have you been doing, man? You ain't fighting. You ain't doing nothing. Nobody is. And 140 is getting hot right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yeah, 140 is it's been pretty much on fire this year, man. Like, I mean, you
Yeah,
seeing
you got
all
to put
these
your
guys.
name out there.
Yeah.
You
Like,
know.
are you like is he gonna, kind of like get himself into the mix there at
I
140?
don't.
I
I don't
mean,
know. I will hope so. I don't know what he. That's what I'm saying. They disappear. You don't know what's going on, and it's just like what?
yeah, man. I don't know with him, man, because like, man, how many yeah, like what was it? They had like those one fights there with Gary Antoine Russell and the thing there with yeah, like I said, Ivan Baranchek. We just saw Subriel Matias with the big win. You know,
Yeah.
Brandon Lee out here getting fights and being
Regis Prograde,
was
Josh
it
Taylor. You know, you got to put some pressure on these guys. I don't understand what they're doing, just disappearing and doing nothing. I don't get it.
was it Zepeda fighting Hank Lundy or something like that? You know what I'm saying? Like I mean, Hank Lundy getting fights at 140. What's going? Yo, like it's crazy. But yeah, you haven't seen Robert Easter Jr. there in action. Yeah, I don't know, man. That's kind of like a thing there, man. But
Yeah, it's frustrating because he should be shining right now. This 140 is hot. It's time for you to get your second career. You know, your second win of your career and do something. But I don't know, man.
yeah, man, and it's not yeah, it's not kind of getting any action there for him. So that's kind of like a thing that he'll definitely have to work on. Um, but the other thing that I wanted to like jump on thing I think we're kind of like a couple days away from probably the most publicized purse bid in boxing history. It's supposed to be September 2nd, WBO purse bid uh, with Terrence Crawford and Sean Porter. Um, man, I was thinking that I didn't know if it was going to happen. Even when the thing was ordered by the WBO, I didn't think it was going to happen. But here, we're like a few days away from it, and I don't know. Maybe they're gonna actually have the purse bid, but I just
Yeah, they're
thought
gonna
that
have it. Yeah, they're gonna
yeah,
have it.
I just thought that they were gonna somehow go their separate ways or whatever it is. But yeah, I think that a lot of people are kind of like anticipating this thing here. Um, to see how it would go. And I think this is like this is something where maybe hopefully both parties will probably get their biggest purses, man. I'm saying like, yo, if somebody put in the bid of 10 million, man, like, yo, go ahead, man, put in a bid of 10 million.
You think
And
it's gonna get that high?
I hope it does, but I don't think it does. Um maybe uh oh probably 8, maybe 8 million. Maybe 8 million,
I don't
but
think it's going over seven. Tell you the truth,
I don't think it's going over 7. Ah, man.
unless somebody come in out of nowhere, I don't think it'll go over seven from top rank or PBC.
Yeah, yeah. If it was those two, yeah, I don't think it would go over 7. Yeah, I don't think it would go over 7 either. But that would like kind of suck though. But the thing about it is like like I was saying in the previous conversation about the thing for the purse bid. Um, I didn't think that PBC would kind of like go for it because it would be something to the level of maybe they would try to have a pay-per-view for it, and I don't think that they would kind of like have or reserve another spot for a pay-per-view for that particular fight, even though some may say it's pay-per-view worthy. But I don't think they would have enough time to kind of like put that in, given that you have two more pay-per-views coming up, you know well, at least through Fox
You talking about
shooting.
Wilder and Canelo's?
Yeah, yep. So it's like, how are you gonna, go ahead and have, another fight like this come up, and it would be like main event level, and try to have another pay per view for it. So that's kind of like a tough thing there for him, and like I was saying a while ago, it didn't look like PBC was very interested in paying out something to Crawford that they wouldn't completely control themselves. So I don't know, man. I think it's something where both parties who that'll enter a bid, TGB Promotions and Top Rank will kind of like put in a bid, and actually that could go to what you were saying as far as like the overall price for it, is that if one side isn't necessarily that interested in really bidding for the fight, that kind of like lowers the overall value for it. So that could pretty much like they could pretty much concede the bid over the Top Rank, and Top Rank, whatever they bid, would probably end up being the price for it.
Yeah, I think I don't know who's gonna win it. I seem like everybody think PBC is gonna win it. I don't know who's gonna win it. Can't get a real good read of what Top Rank wants to do. So I don't know because they've always said this fight ain't worth pay per view, but the only way it's gonna get pulled off is pay per view.
Yeah. And the thing, other thing too is, yeah, I did say the thing with Fox that has two, but you still got ESPN that has, at least one, with the thing with the joint pay per view with Wilder Fury. So, um, you don't know if they're gonna do another pay per view, especially if it's going to be, by the end of the year. So, what will they do? Hold it off until December? So you have a purse bid that's in September, and then, whoever wins, then that fight wouldn't happen until December. Yeah, that doesn't really make that much sense there to me.
Well, I do know that Fox did not want to do a joint pay per view for this fight with
Oh
Top
yeah,
Rank.
yeah, they definitely
I
don't want to
do
do
know that
that.
for a fact. But when I understand
Um,
them bridges ain't really them bridges kind of burnt over that Wilder shit.
yeah, that's true. I was gonna see about looking for the thing for that document that it had, if because usually they have the thing as far as like what happens after a purse bid, like if it has like a 60 days or 30 days for them to have the fight or whatever it is, or for at least to have like a scheduled fight. So maybe they have something else that the WBO has that works something out to where whoever wins that purse bid, they have to you know of course they have to put in a percentage towards the actual purse to hold for the fight, and then they have to put in the specifics for the fight to for it to take place. So um that's the thing there. I mean, I yeah, I'm just unsure about like how that's gonna pull itself off there. So you're gonna see how that goes as well.
Yeah, they did T.O. ever accept that fight? Are they having that fight? What's the latest on
Man,
that?
I ain't even see any updates about if they did sign those contracts. I did not see anything about Lopez and Cambosis signing those contracts, because that thing's supposed to be happening what next? It was supposed to be next Tuesday, right?
No, I think it got pushed back to October 9th.
Yeah, October 5th.
That's
Yeah,
what
October
yeah,
5th.
October that's what they said, but I never heard anything. I ain't seen T.O. promoting it. I ain't seen nothing.
Nah, me neither. I ain't see, nothing in reference to that or anything like that. You know.
Let's hope Triller don't win a fucking purse bid, man. 'Cause they can't even do a fight.
Yeah, they can't even pull off fights, man. If they win in purse bids, but they can't even pull off fights. But I don't know, man. I think the thing with what they did, they just went way over the value of that particular fight, and then they wanted to try to make it like a joint event. So they wanted to make it a concert type of concert and boxing type of thing there. And initially, even with it being when they originally scheduled it to be over in Miami, that wasn't a good look, because you you have somebody that just won a world title, and you're gonna send them over to Miami where nobody really has that much overall interest in them. So that kind of like is yeah, that was like a bad move on their part. So you're gonna see like how this whole thing kind of like turns out for that. So October, mm, man, don't be surprised if it if they still have some type of issue with this particular bout.
They
And
told the IBF said T.O. both fighters got to get vaccinated. You know how T.O. is.
well, he said like one way or the other, he might not even fight whether it's vaccinated or not, because either way, he's still under top rank, and you know what Bob Aaron says about all that. So something just tells me that Teofimo Lopez is really interested in fighting Cambosis for some strange reason. So that'll be that on that part. So
He better get interested because he would have been off for what, a year almost. When he fight
yeah,
Loma in
it's gonna
October,
be
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. That fight was October there against Lomachenko. So he he got to get himself back active, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's another thing. Coming off the biggest win of your career, and you just disappear.
Yep.
But they claim Jake Paul is bad for the sport. At least he done fought more than all these fighters the last year and a half since
Manuel
since
fought 4 times.
yeah. He stayed active and put no fights, which shouldn't be hard to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it shouldn't be, but yeah, I don't know, man. They kind of like sometimes I don't know what it is with some of these fighters though, but especially now. But they got to do something in order to, you know. I know that they have like these things where you have these TV deals with the organizations like the Top Ranks and the PBCs, whatever it is, but these fighters got to be able to get themselves in these cards, one way or another. So you can't like sit there and be inactive. Like, what else are you gonna do? You know?
Yeah, it's frustrating. It's frustrating as a fan.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a lot of potential to do a lot better than what they're doing.
yeah,
This
yeah.
this not fighting and disappearing is getting old.
Yeah, I mean, like we kind of like talked about it, in another podcast or whatever it is. Like we see a lot of these guys that have been able to be in the ring. Kind of like went over the 154-pound division, and a lot of those guys, haven't had a fight yet. Either that or they've had one fight. So
Yeah,
that's
like
the thing
Julian
about it.
Williams, like J Rock.
Yeah, J Rock was supposed to be part of the Tank Davis pay per view. And he got out. Was out due to COVID, and now he's we don't know what he's gonna do next. You know, um,
Get caught lacking like Jared Hurd did.
yeah, yeah, you don't want that. Definitely don't want that. And I think Hurd should go ahead and run that back with Luis Arias, man. Whether it's at 154 or 160, he needs to run that back. Because that some a loss like that really halts your career, man. It really puts your career on hold. Um, and you got like other guys like Tim Zoo out there, calling out guys like saying that he's ready to fight, Brian Castano there for that WBO belt or whatever it is. And but I was like, man,
And then turn
yeah.
around and call out Tony Harrison. I don't know, man. These fighters, man. Look, Tony Harrison looked horrible his last fight. So why did you call him out? You know what I'm saying? Call out Charlo or call out somebody that's looking good that'd make a name for yourself.
Call out Sebastian Fundora.
Yeah, somebody, yeah.
Maybe that would kind of like move the needle, so to speak, when it comes to, if Tim Zoo wanted to make noise at 154.
Yeah, that's why I didn't like when these dudes calling out Adrian Broner. Broner is not what he used to be. He's a name you could beat, yeah, but I mean, if you're a young dog, you're supposed to be calling out the other dogs, not a faded fighter to get a payday.
Yeah. Yeah, I think kind of like heard my guy there, Antoine, do that because him beating that guy, knocking him out where Broner couldn't do that.
Yeah.
But you got something where like at 140 you got the thing where the IBF mandatory, I think was going to be open pretty soon. So they could, go after that. But
And really, all them 140 fighters they got, they should be surrounding Josh Taylor.
yeah, yep,
They're
and,
gonna keep that top rank ain't gonna let nobody outside the top rank touch Josh Taylor.
yep. So they could like force their hand and say like, hey, we got this guy mandatory. He should go ahead and fight Josh Taylor. But like you said, top rank ain't gonna have anybody.
I'll tell you another one. Oscar Valdez, coming off the biggest win in his career.
Yep.
Momentum. He turned around and who was he fighting? Some dude I never even heard of.
It's on a Friday night. What is that? September 10th.
I understand
right?
it's his going back to his going back home.
Yeah, it's home defense of the belt. So
I understand that.
Gets one of those things there.
But if he'd have beat coming off of that, let's say he fought Herring and beat Herring, now you fighter of the year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now you fighter of the year. Or if Herring beat him, now he fighter. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But I don't know. It seems like they just don't understand how to keep momentum going.
Yeah, it's kind of like been a fairly down years to a certain extent there from 2021. Like, yeah, I mean, it's supposed to have like a little bit more things going, a little more activity in the sport of boxing. Have some more fights being put together and whatnot, but it kind of like seems like it almost is going backwards in a sense when it comes to matchmaking and trying to get some good fights going.
Keith Thurman, he ain't doing nothing, which is kind of to be expected from him from this point. Taking 2 years off is ridiculous.
Yeah. And this is like the second time he's doing it, and this time around, it ain't even for an injury. It's just that he's just not active, man. I was like,
And Mikey Garcia, you see, they canceled his fight. It wasn't nothing scheduled, but
it wasn't on the schedule. One,
but
and two, like, for me, I think Mikey Garcia is like, yo, if y'all go pay me this much, to fight guys that really ain't gonna get much of a return anyway, then I'll just fight anybody, pretty much fight anybody I want. I did what I did to try to fight Errol Spence, did that, and got what I got, and then y'all gonna pay me to fight Jesse Vargas. Then I guess, hey, if y'all want to pay me that much money to fight guys like Jesse Vargas, then whoever y'all put up for me to fight, this is what I'm asking for.
Yeah, he thought that was going to lead to that Pacquiao fight.
Yeah, he did. And that kind of went by the wayside. And that, Mikey Garcia was somebody that I thought would have been someone to potentially fight like a Sean Porter too, but they didn't even talk about that last year. So I'm like, man, like everybody looks like they're content with just chilling out and just sitting around doing nothing. And you got like guys like you were talking about the thing there with Oscar Valdez. Valdez is out there out there in the camp, and of course Canelo's got a fight. Andy Ruiz is recovering from surgery, so once he's cleared and everything like that, they're gonna see about having a fight set up for him. Don't know what that's going to be. You got a few heavyweights out there that haven't been able to get themselves in the ring either. So like, it just feels like, to me, it just feels like it's almost at the end of the year already, and we don't have that many fights on the horizon that anyone's looking forward to. Outside of the Wilder Fury card, and maybe potentially whoever Tank Davis is going to fight.
Who you think he gonna fight? Because he gave up the 130 belt.
He gave up the 130 belt, and the WBA said that he has a couple week. Wait, it was like a couple weeks or only a couple days or something that he had to make a decision on the either the 135 or the 140 title. And I said that after him relinquishing the 130, that he was going to fight. His next fight is going to be at 135. And with that being said, and the way that the WBA made their announcements, removing the interim titles away from those that were holding it, and whoever was interim champ is the mandatory for the world champ. WBA is gonna eventually order Tank versus Rolly Romero, and I'm thinking that fight might happen.
I
Because
think
if
so too.
not, then it's only Isaac Cruz that's left. But after the Tank fight against Barrios, Floyd Mayweather was saying like, we got a few guys that we got a few guys on our stable that you know, take a fight and it'll be a great fight, you know. Um, yeah, so I'm thinking it's Rolly Romero, man.
You don't think Tank should take that chance at 147 against Thurman?
Nah, man, nah,
I mean,
nah.
Thurman's been out over 2 years. You catch him, man. You catch him slipping.
I mean, hey, he that would be something if they did, but I don't think that Ford and Ellerby would kind of like have take that chance there at this particular point. You know, they had their momentum going. With the thing with like I said, having a fight against Leo Santa Cruz, and now the thing here with Mario Barrios. Um, and so I think that they're gonna, kind of like match him up, fairly well for the time being. Um, and then have him going up against someone like a Rolly Romero would probably work well. I know that some folks say like Romero could build himself to be a real heel in the sport of boxing, but like right now, it just seems like we got to get these fights going. We got to get the biggest
Yeah,
fight.
Romero should be fighting like a Pitbull Cruz, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, I feel you. But having this thing there where we're a couple, about over a week after, Pacquiao Ugas, which could have been Pacquiao Spence. Um, some people are saying like, yo, we need to get these big fights going as soon as possible because nothing's really guaranteed in the sport of boxing. So whatever the best possible fight you could make for who you have as a fighter, who you're trying to build as a fighter, go ahead and make it and just get that thing going.
And another
Um,
thing these fighters better realize is, hey, we this COVID ain't going nowhere.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? We might end up shutting down again because it's getting bad, and they getting new, different variants of it that's more contagious, that's more deadlier. Y'all better get y'all fights in while you can.
I mean, yeah, it's not really going anywhere. So you gotta get as many good fights as you can, because like who knows with this type of stuff here. Um, yeah, because I just think that they should just go ahead and have these fights happening sooner, rather than later. So that's the thing about it. Um, I think there with Tank Davis, like, I just don't see him. I don't see him fighting Keith Thurman unless it would be like. There's the thing with Keith Thurman too, isn't he? Like asking for a good amount of money for a fight too. So like, what would be his guarantee to fighting Tank Davis? Just for a base purse with the pay per view.
I don't know, probably like three mil or so.
Mm. Yeah, 3 million base. Mm. And then the pay per view backing for it. So Yeah, that would probably be a pretty hefty price, man. And something like that, it kind of like would say, yeah, man, I don't know, because the way that the schedule is now, um, his Tank's plan of fighting in October, yeah, that's probably going to be pushed back to December. So, um,
Yeah,
I don't,
probably depending on this purse bid.
yeah, 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 that too. So, I mean, I don't know. I think that the back end of 2021 will have like a couple of intriguing fights on there, but we just got to have something that'll just like say, "Whoa, I didn't expect this to happen." So maybe Tank versus Thurman is that type of a fight, but I just don't see something like that happening now. You know what I mean? But hey, wilder things have happened before, so who knows?
Yeah, if you want to keep talking about pay per view, those are type of fights. You know, because ain't nobody trying to. I love Raleigh, but I ain't trying to watch no damn Raleigh versus Tank on pay per view. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So that's something there that I'll be on the lookout for. But in the meantime, though, that kind of like sums up everything that I wanted to cover here in this particular episode. Shout out to Lefty joining in, and also Mike Grady jumping in here earlier. We'll get back at it here sometime next week. So y'all be sure to tune in. But like I said, at the end of every show, point of boxing is hit, knock a hit, and understand the trade. On that note, I'm out. Have a good evening, everybody.